And I'm gonna go right ahead to starting our Euclidean geometry revision. Okay, so what you're going to see here this evening is all Euclidean geometry, and in grade 10 that's basically congruency, quadrilaterals, and midpoint theorem. Alrighty, so I've put 5 true-false questions up on the board, and I'm going to leave you for 2 minutes to figure out what they are, and then we'll check back in about 2 minutes, see how you did. Okay, don't be shy to haul out that properties of quadrilaterals notes that you had, because this is all about that. When you are done, put a thumbs up in the chat so that I can see you are done. Okay, Nyasha, Manete, Sanako, Machle. Let's get a few more thumbs up if you are done. Alrighty, let's get going. So, first one, a rhombus is a quadrilateral with diagonals that bisect at right angles to each other. Is that true or false? Put in the chat what you say, true or false. Come, let's make it quick, guys. We've got Wichilu saying it's true. What did everyone else say? Put your answer in the chat. Gareth says it's false. Okay, I definitely think that that is true. a rhombus is a quadrilateral with diagonals at bisected right angles. That's definitely true. Okay, and a rectangle is a quadrilateral with equal diagonals. Is that true or false? That is true, guys. Okay, so make sure you study your properties. You must know them backwards and forwards. A rectangle has equal diagonals. If one pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral is equal, the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Is that true or false? One pair of opposite sides. True or false for number 3? Put your answer in the chat. So Narcus says that's false. Lutando says it's false. False. That is false indeed. It's false because we need one pair of opposite sides parallel and equal to make a quadrilateral, a parallelogram. Okay, one pair of opposite sides being equal is not enough. Okay, so if one pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral is parallel and equal, then the diagonals are equal. Is that true? False? What did you say? Put your answer for number 4. Is it true or false? If one pair of opposite sides of a quadrilateral is parallel and equal, the diagonals are equal. No problem. Zoom user, we just need to change your name. Nyasha says that's false. Anyone else? Let's get some answers. One pair of opposite sides, parallel and equal. The diagonals are equal. I think that's false as well. It is only sometimes true. It's only true in the case of a rectangle, but it's not true for all quadrilaterals. Okay, and then the last one, if all sides of a quadrilateral are equal, then all angles are equal. Is that true or false? Okay, so let's think of those quadrilaterals with equal sides. Rhombus, square. So in the case of a square, yes, all the angles are 90 degrees. But in the case of a rhombus, all the angles are not equal. We know that for rhombus, the opposite angles are equal. And for a square, all the angles will be equal. So we're going to have to go with false here because it's only true for a square. If we look at a rhombus, it's not, so we can't say that this is always going to happen. If all sides of a quadrilateral are equal, then all angles are equal. Okay, so it's actually false because when you look at a rhombus, when you look at a rhombus, Fuchilo, the opposite angles are equal. Okay, let's go on. So this question I got from a past paper set by the Department of Education. And let's have a look. Okay, so it is 5 marks, and what they tell us is that KLMN is a rhombus with diagonals intersecting at 0. What is the first thing that you should realize? What can we say about the diagonals of a rhombus? The question's mentioning diagonals, so it's going to feature. What do we know about the diagonals of a rhombus? Put it in the chat or raise your hand and unmute yourself. The class is small, so we can definitely have conversations. Yes, they bisect at 90 degrees. So all the angles here, 01, 02, 03, 04, those are all 90 degrees. And it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, because they bisect, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and we've got that angle there. LKM is equal to 34. Right, so it says, write down the size of O1. We've pretty much answered that question, right? Because, and it's just 1 mark, and it's not asking for a reason, but I am always in favor of giving a reason, just in case. So write down the size of O1, and your reason is going to be, it's 90 because of the diagonals of a rhombus. Hi, Chinamiram. Okay, I'm going to leave you for, it's 4 marks. So I'm going to leave you here for 4 marks, for 4 minutes, and do question 8.1.2 and 8.1.3 on your own now. We'll check back in about 4 minutes. So don't put anything in the chat, just work on your own, figure it out on your own. And then we'll compare notes in about 4 minutes. Feel free to pop a question to myself or to Miss Nelly, or to raise your hand if you have a question.
Yeah, I think you should wait.
Just wait, Chinamiram, and do it like properly with statements and reasons, the whole story. If you are done, you can put a thumbs up in the chat. Then we might not take up all 4 minutes. Let's see. Put a thumbs up in the chat when you're done. So Naku and Bofelo, Manuel. Okay, so I would like one of you to raise your hand and unmute yourself and tell us how you did 8.1.2. I need a volunteer, please. Who can do this one for us? 8.1.2. Don't be shy. The class is small this evening, so Who's going to do it for us? Monete, Mpo, you guys are all done, so don't be shy. Just unmute yourself. Raise your hand and unmute yourself, and then tell us how you did L1. I'm sure you all got it right. It's not a tricky one. Come, guys. Let's get someone talking, please. There we go, Chinamiram. You can unmute Chinamiram.
Ma'am, so what I did in a way was like, so I saw like they were equal size because of this thing. I don't know what to call it. Congruent something. Or am I wrong? No, I took 90 degrees and 34 degrees and I subtracted it from 180. And my reason is angles, sum of interior angles in a triangle. But
yes.
Yeah.
That's right. So L1 is 180 minus 90 minus 34. And the reason for that is angle sum of triangle.
And the answer is 60 degrees.
60.
56.
56. Okay, wonderful. Do you want to do 8.1.3 for us as well?
Okay, can I just work it out quickly then now?
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Chinamiram.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. So now we've worked out L1. That's 56. Who can do K in M for us? 8.1.3. K in M. This one, you really got to know your properties. You can do it. Sanoku, what about you? Umunete? It's so boring when I do it. I really enjoyed when you guys do it.
Come on, guys. Anyone?
Yeah, don't be scared. I'll help you if you get stuck. Okay, Miss Nelly. Okay. And I wonder where's Tiomu isn't here this evening. But Nelly, oh, there's Tiomu. He's quiet, very quiet this evening. Okay, so we're gonna say we'll be boring, and I'll just do it. Calculate the size of K in M. So there we are working with the angles of this quadrilateral, which is a rhombus. And the diagonals of a rhombus bisect the angles. So, Tiama, you must speak. Okay, so that means if that angle we worked out is 56, then angle L2 is also 56 because the diagonals of a rhombus bisect the angles. So I'm going to say L2 is 56 because diagonals of there's Mpo, nice Mpo, excellent. See, you should have put your hand up. That one's perfect. Diagonals of a rhombus bisect angles. And then, like Nelly has said, L1 plus L2 is equal to N1 plus N2 because opposite angles of a rhombus So therefore KNM is 112. Right. So Chinamiram saying he got angle M1. M1, I'm not sure how that would have worked. Yes, Chinamiram, you've got your hand up.
Ma'am, so
Yeah.
what I did actually was that I got angle M2 with angle K because it's alternate. And then since KMN is an isosceles triangle, then K1 also equals 34 degrees. Then I subtracted 34, two 34s from 180, sum of interior angles of triangle. Yeah. And I got 112 also.
Oh, you did it like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's your isosceles triangle. So you said M2 is 34 alternate angles, and then using angles opposite equal sides, you got K1 is 34, and then using interior angles of the triangle, that's 112. Yeah, that's great. Well done. There are many ways to do geometry. I think maybe sometimes that makes it easy, sometimes that makes it hard. Okay, here's our midpoint question. This question comes from November 2017, also set by the Department of Education. And this is a midpoint question. Let's see. I'm going to just make it a little bit smaller so that the whole thing can fit into the screen. Like that. Okay, so let's read through the question, everybody, and once you are done reading, just put your reading face in the chat. And then if you're done reading, start thinking of a strategy, how you're going to do this. Chilo's got his monocle. Okay. Please remember to indicate if you've done reading. As soon as everyone's done, then we can start the question. If you are done reading, you obviously start working on it. Start thinking, how are we going to solve this? Chinamiram's thinking. Also, if you can, in the meantime, maybe make a quick sketch of it. It's much better to actually work on paper when you're doing geometry, because geometry is a visual exercise. So See if you can quickly just redraw it. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate. As close as possible to the actual question. And remember, we always start by just looking at what's given and going on a fact-finding mission. What can we tell? Okay, so it says that ABC is right-angled. I'm going to put that in pink. That's important. That is right-angled. B, F, and G are the midpoints of AC. Oh, no, F and G. I was wondering where did the B come from. F and G are the midpoints of AC. And of AC and BC respectively. So there we go. F is a midpoint, important. G is a midpoint. So when you have your highlighter there with you, make sure you highlight these important things. H is the midpoint of AG. So another midpoint. And E lies on AB such that FHE is a straight line. Okay. So just from having done that, what do you notice? Starting with which lines will be parallel and why? Put in the chat which lines will be parallel and give a reason. Because we are going to use the midpoint theorem, right? Because the word midpoint appears everywhere in this question. BE parallel to EA, midpoint theorem. Think again. Parallel, remember, means with the arrows, not equal. So look for the line that connects two midpoints. EF parallel to BC, FH parallel to CG. Yes, that's better, guys. Yeah, there we go. So these two lines, EF and BC, those will be parallel. So that's already no problem, Tiamu. That's already, yeah, that's great. Okay, so now that we have those lines parallel because of midpoint theorem, what else can we say? Can we prove yet that E is the midpoint of AB? Put it in the chat if you think you know. This is straight from a grade 10 paper, so we should be able to do it. Is E the midpoint of AB and why? Anamika says yes. Why, Anamika? You must give a reason. Can someone help Anamika? Muneti says yes, because of the midpoint theorem. It's not that reason, it's the other one. Type it in the chat. Okay, Vuchilo says converse midpoint theorem. Vuchilo, did you learn that theorem, that reason in school? Well done, Bungi. Yes, line through midpoint parallel to second side. That's great. Mpo is saying So the parallel lines, yes, and then E is the midpoint because of the line drawn from midpoint parallel to second side. Well done, guys. Yes, that's it. Okay, so E is definitely the midpoint because we have HF parallel to BC, and it's coming from point F, which is the midpoint. Okay, so let's write down that whole answer for 9.1, the answer that will give you all your marks. So we can say that first thing we need to say is that HF, or even let's make it EF. And it's the same line, you write EF parallel to BC. And that's because of midpoint theorem. And the midpoints are H and F, and those were given. So we can use that reason there. And then we can say, therefore, E is midpoint of AB, and the reason being line through midpoint parallel second side. Or if you learned in your school converse midpoint theorem, that's fine too. I always teach it this way, but if your teacher taught you converse midpoint theorem and they're accepting that, then that's perfect, perfectly fine. Right, so that means this will be equal to that. So BE will be equal to EA. So if EH is 3.5 and the area of triangle AEH is 9,5, calculate the length of AB. So EH, let's start there. So if EH is 3,5, what can we immediately say about BG? That's going to be 7 centimeters. And the area of AEH, is 9,5. Calculate the length of AB. Okay, so we need to calculate this. But we can also say that angle AEH is 90 degrees, right? Because of corresponding angles. That angle B is 90 degrees, so angle AEH will also be 90 degrees. So we can say that. So let's start there for 9.2. Let's say that AEH is equal to 90 degrees because EF corresponding angles, EF parallel to BC. And the area of a triangle, if you remember, area of triangle is half times base times perpendicular height. So we are given what the area is of triangle AEH, which is this small triangle here. So if that area is 9,5, we can substitute it in. Half is part of the formula. The base is given, that's 3,5. And the height is actually going to be EA. And now we're just going to solve, right? Because 9,5, half times 3,5, that you can work out on your calculator. Sitting here in the dark with my load shedding. Can't properly see on the calculator, but anyway. So that is 1,75 EA. And then we're just going to divide. We're solving a equation basically. So 9.5 divided by 1.75. So I actually get 5,43 for EA. Okay. Put a thumbs up in the chat if you are happy with what we just did and how we got there. Otherwise, ask a question so that we can clarify. Everyone happy, giving us big thumbs up. Okay, someone asked for me to go back. So while everyone's thumbs upping, I'm going to go back to 9.1 over there. And if you're not sure, please just ask a question. Okay, and now hence, that word hence, what does it mean? It means you've done 9.1, 9.2. Now you're going to use what you did in 9.1 and 9.2 to solve triangle, the area of triangle ABC. Okay, so we already have this side here, that's 7. So that's the big triangle, right? That's what we are going to solve for. That's 7. Because BG is equal to GC, that's also going to be 7. And we solved for this one here. That was 5,43. So then BE must also be 5,43. And there you've got base and height to do area. So by the way, make a note of the area formula of a triangle because it can easily be asked like this, given the midpoint theorem. And you don't want to be stuck in the exam and for some reason you can't remember the formula for area. Okay, so we must write all of that down. We can say GC is actually, we need to start by saying BG is equal to 7. And that was because of the midpoint theorem, or line through midpoint parallel to second side. I'm going to be very lazy and just copy it from here. Line through midpoint parallel second side. Okay, so that's BG, and then you can say units for the answer at 9.2. Yeah, you can. It's not a train smash if you leave it off. They normally don't penalize for stuff like that. But yeah, you can put centimeter. Okay, and then we're going to say CG is 7. And that's just because it's given. So let's just write here given, because BG is equal to CG. And then we can say BE is 5,43 as well. And the reason for that is your midpoint theorem reason, the line through midpoint parallel second side. Let me just undo that. And yeah, you guys can start working out. We've got all the measurements, so you can work out what the area is and pop it in the chat. How annoying. Pop your answer in the chat for the area. I'll scroll up so that you can maybe see the measurements if you didn't get them down. And then, yeah, just half base times height from here on. You can put your answer in the chat. Great things. I'm waiting for you. There we go, Gareth. I was wondering if everyone's suddenly disappeared. Anyone else? Come put your answers in the, it's not that difficult. We've got all the measurements. You just have to put it into the area formula for triangle. Okay, good stuff. Remember to round to 2 decimal places. So it's half times base times height. And our measurements here are 14 times 5.43 times 2. And that's 10,86. And that gives us 76,02. Okay, centimeters squared. Okay. Right, guys, we did have one more question here that you can take a screenshot of if you want for your exam prep. This is to prove that this is a parallelogram.